For this one, we're going to paper 2, and we're going to look at the church in England after the 1066 conquest of England by the Normans. We're going to look at Archbishop Stigand, who was in place first, and then Archbishop Lanfranc and how things changed. Those of you who have got good 1066 knowledge will know that William had gained the support of the Pope for his invasion and the papal banner. So Stigand was not approved by William's ally. He was also guilty of pluralism, controlling more than one church position, simony, selling church positions basically to the highest bidder, and he was also Anglo-Saxon and William was a Norman. So why did he keep Stigand for 4 years? It could be because Stigand was the first powerful person to submit to William, and it was showing, if you submit to me, I'll treat you fairly. You should say he was the first leading magnate to submit to William. And also, he didn't join in with any rebellions that we know of, which was unusual for the Anglo-Saxons. Of course, it could have been because William had other problems to deal with. He had a lot of rebellions to deal with between 1066 and 1070. Perhaps, it's not that he was too busy to fire Stigand, but perhaps he wanted to keep Stigand in the hope that he would help to stabilise the country and get people to accept him as the ruler by keeping an Anglo-Saxon in such an incredibly powerful position. Or maybe some historians have suggested that William was genuinely trying to create an Anglo-Norman nation with a bit of a mix, and it was the rebellions that changed his mind that made him decide to get rid of the Anglo-Saxons from leadership positions. The truth is, we don't actually know. We only have possibilities. We do know that he was replaced in 1070, and this was at a time where the Pope sent his legates. Those were people who the Pope sent around to do jobs for him in different countries, different Christian countries. Anyway, it seems like the Pope decided he wanted his payback for giving William his support, sent his papal legates, and it was Stigand's time up, and William had to appoint somebody new. William chose a man named Lanfranc, who was actually an Italian, but he had lived many years in Normandy and he'd become one of William's most trusted advisors. He was a very devout man, and he believed that religion in England needed sorting out. So he was the perfect one for William, a close ally who William could sort of control, but they got on. He didn't need to control him. They got on, they worked well with each other, and he was going to help to sort things out. He had a reputation as a man who got things done. A man who got things done, a good relationship with William, and of course, crucially, he was somebody who the Pope approved of. So let's have a look at some of the changes. First thing is he said, right, make me the most powerful person. Before 1070, Archbishop of Canterbury and Archbishop of York had sort of been equal in power. He makes Archbishop of Canterbury, William makes Archbishop of Canterbury the official head of the church in England, which immediately gives Lanfranc the power to tell everybody else in the church what to do, and he wastes no time. First, he makes sure there's no more simony, which is essentially selling church positions to the highest bidder. Instead, you would ideally have to be qualified for the role or approved of, maybe more ideally, by William or Lanfranc. And no more pluralism. Archbishop Stigand had been guilty, if you think of the word plural, it's mean more than one. Well, Archbishop Stigand had been Archbishop of Canterbury and Bishop of Winchester. 2 positions at once, double the amount of money and power, of course, or maybe not quite double, but certainly more. And Lanfranc says that is no longer happening. He also says more regular church meetings, which you would call synods, so that he could tell the bishops what they should be doing. In line with the reforms made by the Pope, he said no more marriage for the clergy. The clergy means people who work for the church. Complete celibacy, which means no hanky-panky at all. And this caused uproar, especially because lots of the priests were already married. So those who were already married were allowed to stay married, but from then on, No new priests were allowed to also be married or have hanky-panky. A great power, apart from being made leader of the church, William granted Lanfranc another power. He created church courts. So essentially the church got their own legal system separate from everybody else, where members of the clergy, remember that means people who are part of the church, as in like work for the church, they would be put on trial in church courts. And also so would the ordinary people if they'd committed a religious offence, like blasphemy, which would be saying, for God's sakes, which would not be acceptable at that particular time. Within 50 years, almost every Anglo-Saxon church cathedral in Abbey had been demolished and rebuilt in the Norman style. And by 1070, there was only one Anglo-Saxon bishop left, Wulfstan, Bishop of Worcester, which tells us that Bishop Wulfstan must have done everything that William asked. But this would have been huge. Remember, we've talked about this. Religion was so crucial to people in the early medieval period. And for it to just be completely stripped back and created anew, all the people in charge replaced, all of the buildings, these buildings would have been really special places, just torn down and rebuilt. I mean, even now, when religion is not as crucial, imagine all of the churches just being torn down and rebuilt. I think even now people would be a little upset at that one. So there you go. There's some of the changes that happened in the church as a result of the Norman conquest. What people call this is the Normanization of the church.